Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and any transgenders watching our this podcast, being social. And as I always say that in this talk show of about an hour, I try to bring you in interaction with people with inspiring personalities and minds. And this evening, I have a more than inspirational personality, Shovana Narayan ji, very well known to everyone in India. Whoever knows a bit about culture or heard about anything. So I'm I'm lost for words to introduce Shobna ji to you. And can you believe it? Somebody at the age of doing the dance performance at the age of four. I mean, many of us don't even know how to speak well at that time. And Shobna ji is born in a reputed nationalistic family who were part of national movement. Her father was a civil servant, mother was a social worker and a kind of politician, very close associate of Mrs. Indira Gandhi. And Shobna ji had done Master of Science in Physics, and she was doing PhD in solid state physics before she joined Indian Audit and Account Service in 1975. I guess she could not complete that PhD, but she made it up by having two Master of Philosophies later, one on defense and another one through Punjab University, I guess, as part of some long term programs. And many faces, many hats she has, and I mean, it will take me a very long time to tell you all that. I will simply tell you in brief that she is a social thinker, having a very large heart. She has done the programs for the benefit of war victims and flood victims and whatnot. On the culture, she is trained by none other than Birju Maharaj and others, and she is also herself a teacher, mentoring and guiding a lot of students, teaching them, including guiding people to do their PhD in dance. She has written about many books on dance and its history and other aspects. Shobna ji has been a meritorious student and top class civil servant and very special class uh, performer in the social field, the cultural field, the performing art and whatnot. Many awards, more than 30 international and national awards I can find from the internet, maybe by now many more. So, so with that little introduction of Shobna ji, welcome to our show, Being Social. We are overwhelmed to find you here, but more so when you are having your own busy moments at home and you found time without mincing any words. Thank you so much and welcome. Please tell us something about your miraculous childhood and your journey towards civil service and your education.
Well, first of all, let me say that thank you very much for remembering me on this occasion. And well, I greet all the viewers and you, my dear Pan, on our. We've just celebrated our Independence Day, so greetings to you on that day. And well, as far as what you have said, it was very flattering. But you know what, Pant? I'm just a plodder. I am doing what I love to do. And that is what I have been doing right since childhood, ever since I can remember that I've been conscious or consciously remember. But to answer your question specifically, how did I get into the world of all what? The academics as well as later on civil service and dance. I presume that, well, I just love doing what I love doing. That is, but uh, the seeds were also set and sown in my family background. Particularly in my mother's family background, because that is where I would always say the mothers make a lot of the, you know, mental contribution, of psychological evolution of the child. And um, and uh, they were a very forward looking family. My grandfather was a great freedom fighter. He was a member of the then Parliament, which was Central Assembly 1922-23 onwards, till he died. He died early, 30 or 31, and so on and so forth. So as a child, I was put into, all children have a lot of energy. I'm sure each and every one of your viewer would also say the same about themselves, also about their children, that every child is full of energy, and so was I. And I was just always bugging my mother and saying, "What should I do next? Ab main kya karoon?" And then in the family, because we come from a certain, though very reputed family of thinkers and freedom fighters, but very much into immersed in the arts. That every child of the family had to be well versed in all the 64 colors. So she put me into dance, and I was taken to Shavana Bose. My father was posted in Calcutta at that time, when I was born. And so, in fact, I was barely 2.5 or 3 years old at that time. And so apparently, she told me later, she got, she told my mother that you brought to me a babe in arms. She said that in Bengali. And anyway, the babe in arms just loved dancing and found that she had found her soul in dance. And then I loved studies because I was in Loreto House, Calcutta. I equally loved my studies. So just to cut a long story short, my love affair and my heart affair, where my soul affair with the two became part of my life. And I was always sailing on two boats simultaneously, whether as a child, as a school student, whether as a college student, whether even as a research scholar. I was a CSIR junior fellowship holder for research in physics. And then later on, that gave way to civil service, and so then civil service and dance. And that is how the journey started, and it continues today, till today. Civil service, we all retire. I have retired from civil service 15 years ago, but dance will stay with me till I die, because that is something, it is there. I don't have a retirement age of dance, and that is it. But the civil service part of it and the physics part of it continues. The desire to know more, the desire to delve deep, that was probably the physics part in me, the research part in me, and therefore that continues till today. And I'm doing a lot of research work in the field of art, architecture. I got interested in architecture and history, though I used to be a science and mathematics variety at that time. But now it's art, architecture, history, and that continues, and so much so forth that one has delved and managed to bring out a book on so many different aspects, which takes me into the field of psychology and other things. So I think that part also is continuing in some way or the other, while active dance, my dedication, my because I just say that I'm a servant of dance. It is my form of dedication, my puja, my prayer that continues. That's in short.
Let's straight away jump into the dance, the methodology and the learnings and the other areas. I know you have done a lot of experimentation in dance and lot of innovations, a number of styles which have been either value added or developed by you. Tell us something about there, starting with Kathak and then others.
I would not say that I have uh, sort of change my dance form. No, my medium of expression is Kathak. Every movement I say, everything I do is Kathak. It's Kathak. That is my language of emoting, my language of expressing through movements. So even when I'm, um, as I said, I think I've heard. Incidentally, I want to correct you, or I want just not correct you. I want to add. I did. I would have got my PhD in physics had I submitted my thesis. I did not. So that was it. I did the. I went through the rigors of doing everything, but I did not submit it. So I did not get it. But now coming, I'm jumping back now to dance. Um, when yeah, first of all, the social themes and others, it was the family background where there was used to be a lot of discussions at home, a lot of discussions. And so with the result that you started asking questions, my mother would discuss with me, and that led to a. And then she was a social worker, so I've never seen a closed door or a window in my life, in my house. Anyone came, she was there to help them. And so that is how I grew up, in that kind of an environment where you helped people, you understood, you heard the stories. And so it raised questions, and questions that, and my questioning, inner questioning, led to a lot of which, and my mode of expression, the way I expressed best, was through dance. And so that went in. A journalist might write about it, somebody else might write a poem about it. For me, it was through the medium of dance. That is one side. Second is, as far as others are concerned, other dance forms and other dance styles are concerned, I always say it's a collaboration, because none of us uh, sort of sort of dunked our own style and adopted somebody else's. No, none of us. What we did, we kept our individuality, our respective style, but we found the togetherness. It is the same. One, two, three, four. The beats 1, 2, 1, 2 is universal. 1, 2, 3 is universal. Fractions of a beat are universal. Everything is universal. So we just found those points. Even if when you're even in a country where you do not know the language, it is the language of emotions, which which crosses all the barriers, and you're able to communicate. So you know if I'm angry, you will know if I'm speaking to you with uh, friendship and with love, or you will know whatever it is. Yeah, I mean it's expressions. So those expressions, movements. If you say I did not understand. Everybody will understand. So the movement and gestures are again universal. Some may be specific, culture specific, but otherwise the language, the whole universe of movements, emotions, gestures, and rhythm is universal. And that is what we did. We found points of meeting together, the togetherness. It is so easy to talk about clashes. It's so easy. But where is the togetherness? Those togetherness. So it was like a jigsaw puzzle. And everybody came together, and we found that we created a beautiful pattern, a pattern which was unique, a pattern where two souls of two artists met, and we created a pattern. So I would always say those are collaborations and collaborative works, not fusion. where none of us lost our identity, yet there was togetherness, there was understanding, there was a respect for each other, there was a respect for each other's movements, respect for each other's cultures. Also, at the same time, if I can, since we are in a visual medium, I would like to say that in case I am talking about, uh, I'll just put this down so that yeah. In case I'm can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes,
Can you hear me?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, I can.
In case I'm just saying that this movement. Now, in case this movement or this movement, in a ballet or a ballet dancer or a ballerina in a Western classical, they also do this movement. I also do this movement, and Spanish flamenco also does this movement. Now, what is it? It's just the attitude and approach which gives the difference. Similarly, I can just take so many movements, whether it is in the different Indian classical styles or styles from other countries, classical style. So we found that movements were the same. How you said it was different. That's all. And so there was a beautiful understanding and togetherness that this whole exercise brought about.
Yeah, but basically, it was based on what I read
I
in
let
the.
me. I can't hear you. Wait. Let me go back to because I could hear my own voice. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I asked this question because I read that you have done a lot of experimentation and as you say the collaboration with the Western styles and the within in the Indian styles and your very own narratives in the form of your own narrations as well as very famous poetry by people like I attended one of your dance programs that was on Yashodhara. Sakhi tum mujhse kehkar to jate. And another one I attended was this one I attended in Nepal. Another one I attended was in Sri Lanka, Colombo, wherein you showed how through the dance you can communicate how an elephant walks, how uh, I mean how
The
what
river
kind of
walks or the
movements.
horse walks or the snake.
So those special bhavas and mudras, I mean, I mean, they are unique to um, the Indian dance form, but as well as yes, certain things are universal, as you rightly said. So um, basically, when you chose the profession of civil service, and also very demanding, time demanding, and passion of dance, how did you balance out the two, particularly in the civil service environment of the olden days when people would not let you do things right now? Of course, nowadays, if you are in the contemporary times, anybody would be treating you like a within the organization a celebrity. But those days also, was there something like that, or you had to balance it out and really struggle to find time for both at the same time?
Let me tell you one thing, Pant. First of all, uh, on balancing time, it always, I have all quoted this often, and I'm reminded, it's so vivid in my memory. I think I was about 8 years old. My father was posted in Bombay. I was also ambitious enough, if I can use the word, wanting to come first in class, and we had a examination around the corner, and I was supposedly studying. I like we all do. I had my books open. I was studying. I was mugging for my exam. Little did I realize that my mother was watching. Suddenly, I found that my mother came and closed my books and said, "Get lost. Just go do." So I got scared and I said, "No, but I've got my exam." She says, "What exam? Your mind was wandering all over. You had your books open, I agree. You were looking into it, I agree. But if I were to ask you a question, I don't think you would even be able to give me half a reply. So get lost. I don't want to see you with the books." So I said, "But I won't do well." She said, "So what will happen if you don't do well? But just get lost. I don't want to see this farce of studying." She was so stern. I think out of fear, I closed and I went off. I came back. But let me tell you, I studied better. After doing whatever I wanted to do, I don't remember whatever. I came back and studied better. I did get my first position in class. But that evening, now that day, set something in my mind that whenever I had to study, I would study, and if my mind was not on it, I would close my books and go. So one learned much later, I reflected that indirectly she had taught me time management. That kindly do what you want to with concentration rather than fooling around, and just stop it and be honest to yourself. She taught me honesty to myself and she taught me time management just with that one evening. And I think that became a habit with me. And therefore, even when you're doing physics, etc., you've been a science student, you know the rigors, etc., and also the rigors of civil service where you're supposed to. Now, the second part of your question, it's very strange. Human psychology is very strange. Um, as long as you fit into the bill that you are supposed to, it's different. Till I joined civil service, I in the world of dance, I was hailed as young, mesmerizing, everybody sort of blah blah blah. That kind of. So I had gone on. I was representing India here, there, blah. So it was everything. The moment I joined the civil service, you'll be surprised. I fell down from the pedestal completely. One day I was here, the next day I was here. And then it was only the dint of your performances, etc., because every performance is an examination. There's no such thing. So that you had to prove it. So I was very happy that God was kind, that gave me that strength, that to, I'm a plodder, as I said, I'm still plodding. Similarly, the same thing happened in civil service. Till many people did not know, because with our makeup on, we look very different. Yes, the way I write my name is the only giveaway, Vana, but otherwise it could be anyone. So till then you're viewed differently, but once they put two and two together, then you're viewed differently. Then you're viewed with double or triple scrutinizing lens. So it happened, the double and triple scrutinizing lens happened in both fields, whether it was the field of dance or whether it was the field of civil service. But finally, whatever happens, you have to be true to yourself. You have to be absolutely honest to what you are doing. um, it's not that you succeed the whole time. There would be failures, there would be areas, but you are honest. And I think that is what, that honesty of purpose, honesty of intention, honesty of dedication and being dedicated to what you do. I think that is what is important in life, whether in this field or that field.
Okay, madam, let's talk a bit about audit. You have an Indian Audit and Account Service, which you are in the olden days. My seniors, I won't name them, they said C&AG was not supposed to come to office. He was supposed to play golf in the morning and come at 12 o'clock and then go for lunch. And then it was his will or her will whether they attend office or not. And that kind of atmosphere, uh, I mean, it's hearsay. I cannot say with certainty whether it's true or not. And nowadays, of course, all kinds of tools are there, including now artificial intelligence tools and all that. So people are very busy, and everyone is looking towards C&AG and the auditors for discipline, the accountability, the transparency, and that is the entire scenario of audit has changed. Of course, in those days also, in certain respect, it may have been there. So, would you like to say anything on that?
I would
Your
say that
experiences?
no, I would like to say that the audit department was always taken seriously. It always depends a lot on the kind of audit reports. I've had feedback when I was on some occasions that my audit report on the special economic zones, etc., were discussed very in detail in Parliament, etc. So those are welcome things, that way. And on the attendance part of it, you and I perhaps you would also remember that there was always this famous thing about all babus or all services, uh, is that the babu would come, hold, hang his chhata, his umbrella, and his towel over there, and be off the whole time. And then in the evening it would go. But the babu was there, though he was never on his seat. So those were, in other words, that people did what they wanted to. I have also been told, wherever I have had, that I would, if X was the time, I would be there. I took care to come 5, 10 minutes before time, because then only I could tell my juniors, why aren't you on time? If I'm late, then how can I pull them up? If I'm so so much to the disconcertment of a few of my junior colleagues, sometimes um, I mean, they didn't expect it of me, particularly by then my reputation that I was a dancer also. Sometimes, but I would say that you might remember that, uh, I mean, all of us have double, triple charges, but sometimes you don't give charges to some people. And you might remember that most of my career, I did I was holding double and triple charges in most of my assignments, at least in 80 to 90% of my assignments. So I think that also speaks for itself, rightly or wrongly, whichever. That means somebody somewhere placed trust in me. And I would, so I would say that, the habits of civil servants of that time, or the habits of civil servants of today, haven't changed really much. Atmosphere may have changed, but I think you have to see the quality of output. You have to see the kind of decision making, whether every civil servant, or certain civil servants are able to take. I think that matters. So, in effect, it depends a lot. You have the same scenario of civil servants then, same scenario of civil servants now, but the outer environment may have changed. But perhaps you have to see whether, there are so many other factors which you have to take into account while making a comparison. Some may be compatible, compatible, some may be comparison worthy, so sometimes it may not be. There are two different sets of apples and oranges. So, but I won't say that the civil servants of X generation or Y generation are better. I'm talking in general, or worse, whichever way. You have, I would say, the good ones are good ones, irrespective of what. The the mediocre ones are mediocre, irrespective of what. The ones who do not work then and who do not work now, irrespective of what.
Shobnaji, I know that through my research that you have acted in a couple of films also. How this passion from dance and civil service went to the acting in the films?
Where I've acted in films, but only as because I promised somebody something. When I was 18 years old, I was approached by the legendary Hemant Kumar through his cousin, Mukul Banerjee, who used to be the Delhi MP at one point of time, that he would like to sign me up for as the main heroine in one of his films. And my, I sort of I didn't agree to it because I wasn't interested. So if I could say refuse it at the age of impressionable age of 18, so, so much later, if I agreed to do it, was because of other reasons. And the first film happened because I made a rash promise, a birthday gift to a film director. Said, "Oh, I didn't realize it's your birthday. What can I give you as a birthday?" He says, "No, I'll take my birthday gift later. And you promised me that you'll give me." And I made a rash promise. Yes, yes, I'll give you. In my style, I made this rash. And after making this rash promise, I got scared to tell you very frankly as to what. And nothing happened. But 2 years later, then he called and said, "You made that promise," and my heart was pounding, let me tell you, as to what there would be extracted of me. And then he says, "You have to act in my film." Then I heaved a sigh of relief. But since I'd made that rash promise, I did it. And that became a big hit. And similarly, the two other films that happened were virtually in similar kind of situations where maybe not a promise, but I had to, whatever it is, but it happened. So that's why, I did it. But I am happy to say that all the films that I did won a lot of recognition. And they went into the panorama, into the film festivals, etc., etc., etc. So it was I can only be grateful to God for that. Avartan was the latest Hindi film that I did. That was during COVID times. Just pre-COVID it finished and then it was released during COVID time. But it went into a lot of film festivals and it was in the panorama of a lot of film festivals. So it won special mentions everywhere. And similarly, uh, so people compared me with Smita Patil and Shovana Ji and things like that, but whatever it is. But what it remains was that they were received well, and I can only say, thank you, God.
Okay. Many of the viewers may not know that Shobnaji speaks very good German, and the reason for that perhaps is by default Her Excellency in Austria. Her husband has been Austria's diplomat in India and in other positions also earlier. I mean, he was ambassador, and I mean, is there any German influence on you or in your dances or your cultural
Do you see anything? Do you see anything? I'm a Khati Hindustani, to use a very Bihari adjective. Very, very Hindustani. I, in fact, no, my husband was the Austrian ambassador to a lot of different countries. And he was as Austrian as one could get. I was as Indian as one could get. Uh, so, but we married 43 and a half years. And so it's been a very good run inning. And I'm not very fluent in her German, but yes, I speak bedhadak without fear. I'm like a good bulldozer through the language. After speaking, I know I've made these grammatical errors, but who cares? I've made myself understood. So, so I'm very fluent that way. Yes, with, as I said, I drive a bulldozer, but uh, uh, I must tell you about a very humorous incident. My husband was at that time 1982, 83, 83, 83, 84. He was ambassador to Austrian ambassador to Ethiopia. He was also co-accredited ambassador, Austrian ambassador to Madagascar, Mauritius, South Yemen, Djibouti. So it just happened that in one of those, I'd taken my earned leave for a week. I went over there, and then so he says, "But I'm going to so and so country." So I said, "Okay, I'm coming along." So I went with him. Uh, I'm not going to name the country, but he got off the plane, and the red carpet treatment for the Austrian ambassador was there, the protocol and all. Those days were different. Today's age is different. But there was this huge, actually a red carpet treatment, and he was being taken this side, and the rest of the plane load was to go the other side. I, as the Austrian ambassador's wife, was typically dressed like an Austrian, namely in the sari, like you see me. I have a very, very typical Austrian complexion, as you can see me. My husband is white and I'm rather brown. And so all the opposites you can see. So I was walking behind my husband. So the protocol got a little worried, because the rest of the plane load was to go the other side. So he just said, like this, you have to go that side, very politely. And my husband said, my wife. Now his poor chap, not his fault, his all involuntary reaction was, are you sure? So it was, I started laughing. My husband sort of just blinked a bit, and then, of course, when we arrived at this terminal lounge, all our passports were being given, because they had to collect. My husband's red Austrian diplomatic, and I came out with my blue Indian no passport. And that also, he was a little perplexed. So finally, one colleague of his comes and says, does your passport say somewhere that Herbert is your husband? So I said, those were the old days passport. I said, page so and so, where it says name of father oblique husband, you'll find Herbert's name there.
Yeah,
So that you can tell you the hilarious incidents. I've gone through hilarious incidents on many occasions.
but I'm sure in the diplomatic fraternity throughout, your husband would have got a special recognition because of your talent of cultural and dance performances once he
Look,
got to
look,
know.
look, 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 look. When the diplomatic fraternity is concerned, you just do it. I mean, it's okay. How I may be X, Y, Z, but it doesn't matter what I am there. There, I'm representing him and his wife as his wife. So it doesn't make much. I never made a hullabaloo about who I was and what I was.
You have written so many books. Could you tell us something about your some of the books? What kind of genres they are, and what do they?
As I said, it started with a lot of the questioning, inner questioning. Those days, I'm talking about the 60s, there were a lot of articles on Kathak, and it was reference to it was born in the Mughal courts of I mean they're literally saying that they were born in it was born in the. So my question to my mother was, if it was born in the Mughal courts, it should have had a very Islamic name. Why is it Kathak? It's very Sanskritic. So those were the questions I would keep asking. She said because it is not, it is much ancient, much more ancient. So those kind of questionings led me to read, led me to read Mahabharata, encouraged by my mother, who said you better read it yourself rather than. And it that so happened that I also read a book of Norman Hine a little later, and where also he quoted. So I wrote to Bhandarkar's Oriental Research Library in Pune on those 10 paisa wala inland, blue inland letter and say, I've heard this, etc. So they wrote back. 3 months later, I got a typewritten letter quoting the shlokas and the verses. So I was elated. Now, similarly, when you go to, when I started visiting museums and saw sculptures. We saw sculptures of Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, where you have this lady, which everybody calls the dancing girl. 360 degrees because she's self-standing. All the temples are only 1,000 years old, the standing temple, but they are relief. Then, so where is the in between? Then you read about Gupta period being the wow, fluorescence and cultural fluorescence, etc. But where are they? They're all not standing temples, the sculptures and museums. But between the Gupta period and the Harappan period, where are the sculptures? No, those are the Mauryan period. Now, when I went to Patna Museum, I was absolutely stunned, surprisingly, joyfully stunned to see 3 degrees standing sculptures, one wearing a lehenga, that long skirt that we wear, the ankle length ghagra, and the other one wearing a tight fitting pajama and the angarkha kind of kurta, anarkali, and she's in a state of pyramid because it's spread out. I, in fact, made them take it out of the thing. They opened it and they brought it out. I photographed her from all sides, and she's only 13 inches high. Now, so here is it. Then how do you say this? So you started connecting. The postures are the same. Look at the costumes, etc. You so one started getting so much more information from these forgotten sculptures, which are there, which is the continuity in our history, but we forget, we jump it. We just go into the 10th century AD or the 8th century AD. But what about the in between sculptures, which are telling you a whole story? And so when I started researching and doing it, finding, for me, I love to share. Whatever I know, I love to share. And so one started writing about it. Once I started writing about it, then somebody say, hey, why don't you put it down in a form of a book? So then I started writing the book. And so that is how all my books came about. Similarly, most of my books are based on, and as I said, even the 2 years ago, the book on Kathak Lok came about because I was dancing in 2002 or 2003 in Bodh Gaya festival when a journalist asked me, will you go to Kathak village? Now, Pant, tell me, have you ever heard of a Kathak village? A village called Kathak?
No.
I hadn't. And so I exactly. So when he said it, I thought he was trying to trip me, making a fool of me. But he started laughing. He said, smiled, and not laughing, but smiled, and said, "No, I'm not trying fooling you. There is a Kathak village." Now that aroused my curiosity, And that led me to do a whole research. And as God wanted it, I managed, chance gave me the opportunity of sitting somewhere next to another retired bureaucrat who had just retired, 1 year junior to me, from Punjab Cadre. And so I just mentioned it. She got interested. So we teamed up, and I went to all the places, and we found not one Kathak village but several Kathak villages, including in the this thing you have the election commission code numbers of these villages. So and so when I did that, then one thing led to the other. You came to know about the community. Then you started studying sociology as to the social system, the psychology, the entire part of it. And then the whole book was written. So a lot. So that happened. And then similarly, when I remember in late 80s, or was it in 90s, I was sitting with my mother-in-law, and suddenly I heard Maria Fontrap is dead. We've all grown up with Sound of Music. Yeah. And so I said, I said, so she said, what? So I said, Maria Fontrap. Now, I came to know, we read it because we were under the colonial power. So our history is taught from the British point of view. But Austria, I saw the history and the suffering of the people, even the non Jew people, which was never dwelt upon. Because I had read history in a completely different way. And and then my father in law, I'd never met my father in law. He was born in 1885, died in 1994. And so this gentleman served the First World War, saw the Great Depression, saw the marching in of Hitler and the annexation of Austria, saw the Second World War. He was 3 times called by the Gestapo, almost sent to the concentration camp. Thank God he survived it. And just because, why? Because he was he was not, he did not, he was not pro-Nazi at all. He was anti-Nazi. Had a lot of Jewish friends. He believed in multi-ethnicity, multi this thing, etc., etc. And so you saw the suffering of the family from a very well-to-do family, how he lost his job overnight, almost sent to the prison, as I said, to concentration camp. 3 times the Gestapos were there at our doorstep. So I saw history from a different point of view, and different experiences. These were experiences of the family. And so when then I started writing. Then so those so as I said, it's a mixture. Then I wrote one on cultural policy, etc. Then so there is a mixture. Majority of them are on culture and different aspects of culture, and not only on dance but different aspects of culture. And some of them are like this kind of a thing. So far I've written 19 books, and the 20th and 21st and the pipeline.
I hope one of them, the 21st, should be either a autography, biography, or biography also.
I'm not writing my autobiography. And nobody will buy it. Why the hell should they buy it? They would be daft to buy it. But there was one lady who was daft enough to who pursued me for a few months and finally made me agree that I should say yes to the fact that she wanted to write about me. So that lady is doing it. Let's see what she's written. I don't know.
Because I know it would be very inspirational as well as interesting journey of yours, um, thoughts and living and your contributions. Talking about contributions, you have a lot of social contributions. You promote the welfare of disabled, the war victims and the flood victims, and not less to say is mentoring your students. I remember when you were working in the civil service and also performing, you had your house look like a dance academy where after office hours you had to train your students, and that Guru Shishya Parampara must have continued there. So, could you tell us a little more about this?
Oh, well, as I said, I love sharing, so why not share it with youngsters? And there was Jenny, if you remember, there was a very famous Hindi writer, Janendra Kumar Jain. His daughter was staying next to door to our place, and so his granddaughter came, said she wanted to learn from me. Way back, I'm talking about 1972, 73. I said, Bhaiya, no. Why? I am a young dancer. Why do you want to learn from me? She insisted. And so I started teaching her. And that it so happened I started teaching her. It was basically because Shambhu Maharaj had died at that time. So, in order to help the family, contribute a little bit financially. So his son would come and play the tabla. And then so therefore I started teaching, so that all the money that came, this was given to him. I said, please pay him directly, and that's it. So that he's able to support the family. A little bit extra contribution to the family. So that's how I started. Then I found that I enjoyed sharing, and therefore it grew from there. And also, it was shortly after that, also in 77, it was my first posting. I was posted in Jaipur when I heard about my father's train accident and he died in it. Then I just went from Jaipur to Rewari, found his body, got the post-mortem done, brought it to Delhi, and I, I did the Agni, gave him the Mukh Agni myself. And 2 days later, I was already booked to perform in Mathura festival. I went there to perform, and my sister took the ashes and went to Haridwar to complete it. So, so I think both of us, my sister and I, we got the inspiration, the strength from our family, and I've done what I felt. My mother's only thing was do everything, but do it dedicatedly, honestly, ethically. She said, so that was her thing, very ethically, honestly, dedicatedly, and no shortcuts to anything. So I hope I've lived up to it. I can only say that. And what you have talked about is about the Guru Shishya Parampara. Yes, there's a lot to be said about it, because learning is something you have to, the spirit has to pass on. One is, if you just give the technicality, you're just an acharya. It's just that. But then once you're able to actually impart the ethos to it. Even the way you talk, one things, your behavior, every little thing. It's like a osmosis process even in the house. A parent is somewhere. The unsaid becomes more important. The behavior is much more important and much more of an educating factor, rightly or wrong. Some you might say you should always speak the truth, but if the child is here's the parents indulging in something else, their practice is different from what they're saying. He imbibes the negative part of it faster. So it's very important. The unsaid is the most important part in any imparting of education in whatever way. And that is what the Guru Shishya Parampara is about.
Well, we all know that you have got. I don't even know that whether you have been keeping track of your awards. One of them, of course, is the Padma Award, the Padma Shri, and Sangeet Kala Academy Award. and many more.
And the
Could you tell us?
Bihar State Award also, the State Rashtriya Samman. I think those are the state awards and the national awards. There are many others given by a lot of different. Yeah, there should be about 70, 75, or 76 one. uh, But, but what I would say that yes, awards are a kind of recognition to what you're doing. But the puja, my dedication, the puja, for me it's a prayer. Yeah, whatever it is to spread to humanity through the medium that I know the best, where I can emote the best, and that is the medium of dance. Because dance itself, you know, Pant, let me ask you, when you see, you saw the recent COVID and the lockdown. You heard of people falling into depression and many committing suicide and things like that because they couldn't take. Their, but from the world of classical artists, you hardly heard of such incidents. They were so busy, you know, in their own creativity because somewhere there's an we are not hankering after the material majority. I'm using the word majority as compared to the with a far greater percentage of such people compared to all other, even in the field of commercial art is different, others are different. Is that that all most of us are there for not for the commercial factor, but for the inner peace it gives us, for the great sense of stability and balance it gives us. We are most of us are aware that anything that you attain in life is so ephemeral. It's there today, gone tomorrow. But what matters is sensitivity. What matters is humanity. What matters is brotherhood. What matters is understanding. After all, today when a person needs blood, you ask for blood. Do you ever ask from which country is this blood? Or from which caste or creed or religion is this blood coming from? At that time, it's blood. Whether it's O positive or O negative or B plus or B minus. That's all. It could come from high born or low born. It could come from anyone.
Well, you have already answered my upcoming question when I was about to ask you to what kind of message would you like to give to the society. You've already expressed in many beautiful messages and words of commitment to yourself to help others, to have inner peace and inner strength, and some of these things are very, one can say these are divine virtues, I must say. And everybody has divinity in them, so they have to find those divine virtues within themselves.
I always find trust begets trust. If you look for divinity, you'll find the divinity. But if you look for devil, you'll get the devil. Who is perfect? Nobody's perfect. But there are beautiful aspects, and always trust begets trust. Respect begets respect. And there are no shortcuts in life. There are no shortcuts in life. One's own perspiration is the most worthy, and the whatever, even a 1 rupee that you earn for that perspiration, that is far more valuable than say 100 rupee or 1,000 rupee note that you might find lying on the street.
कि वो बड़ा मशहूर एक वो जुमला है कि सब किराएदार हैं यहाँ, कोई यहाँ हमेशा नहीं रहता, किसी का कुछ नहीं है। तो शोभना जी, आखिर में थोड़ा वेरी सिंपल yet very complicated section is the what I call it reflex answers. So I'll ask you questions, yes or no, or one word, whatever. try and give answers without thinking, spontaneously.
Okay, I'll try.
So, yes, what is more important for the society? This is the first one. Cultural or political involvement.
I would say culture encompasses everything. Even the political aspect of life is influenced if you culturally sensitive. So if your insensitivity also affects your political, so cultural activity. It's
Now
very
your other
sensitive.
now your other hat of being a C&AG officer. Accountability or performance.
Accountability. You have to be accountable for all what you do and take the responsibility.
Something about yourself. Teaching or performing. What is better?
Both. Because when you're performing, you're teaching. When you're teaching, you're performing. They're interrelated.
Okay. One world or gender mainstreaming.
Hmm?
One world, I mean equitable world, or gender mainstreaming.
General mainstream. Okay, one word, one equitable world or a general mainstream. Are they? Let me ask a counter question. Uh, are the two somewhere they meet, but you have to find the balance
Okay.
because
Fusion or okay. Please go ahead.
no, as I said, in that one world, there is a general mainstream also included in it. There is a because everybody is included in that one world.
Fusion or gharanas.
Be just be yourself because both of them have individuality.
Finally, the most important question: Bihar or Delhi?
बिहार और
Delhi.
दिल्ली दोनों ही बिहार में दिल्ली है दिल्ली में बिहार है
So, Naji, thank you very much for your enlightening conversation and on various aspects we discussed, and with ease you answered them. And I know it's very difficult for you to sum it up the way you summed up, because your life and your story is much beyond 1 hour's discussion. So I think yes, our viewers would be benefited with this, and they will learn good things from you, and hopefully they'll take care of their own inner peace and inner strength, and be social. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, man. Thank you for remembering me. And it's lovely to be seeing you, talking to you. We are meeting after a long time. And thank you so much, Abu. And thank you
Thank
for your
Thank you so
kindness.
much. थैंक यू एक रिटर्न गिफ्ट के लिए मैं भी प्रॉमिस ले लेता हूँ. आजकल आई ऑल्सो गेटिंग टू मेकिंग फिल्म, सो आई विल ड्यू रहा सम
बिल्कुल
गेस्ट रोल
करेंगे
ऑफ माई मूवी.
करेंगे
थैंक यू. नमस्कार.